Howdy y'all, we've got another battle report today. This is a game we played last weekend, so I wanted to run through it. First, check out this. Yes, we got the, finally got in my official jersey for the Dallas Defenders of the Citadel group. Unfortunately, we haven't had any tournaments, so I haven't been able to wear it. So I just got to wear it around at home. One of these days, we'll get out there and be able to beat the armpit of Texas, Houston. Anyway, here's our battle report for today. We've got Seraphon versus Living City. So we're going to run through the list real quick, and then we'll get to the sweet pictures. So I'm taking, obviously, Seraphon, Thunder Lizard. We're going Lord Kroak, and I'm going to take Stellar Tempest for Horde Busting spell. Got the Engine of the Gods as my general, and he's got the command trait Prime Warbeast, which gives him an extra attack for all his mount attacks, and Artefact Fusil of Conflaguration. This is the one that's required in Thunder Lizard. I always forget about it. Skink Starpriest, Hand of Glory is going to be his spell. He's going to be buffing some skinks up. Another Skink Starpriest with Tide of Serpents in case I need to deal with some hordes. And 2 Skink Priests. Of course, you see Skink Starpriest and Skink Priest tagged together, you know there's going to be some hordes of skinks. So we got 2 hordes of skinks in this list, 2 40-man blocks with Boltspitters, and it says here Moonstone Clubs, it's the shields. And then another 10 skinks, same thing, Boltspitters and shields, and 2 Bastiladons with the solar engines. I also brought the Bound Purple Sun. I really like this spell. It's kind of a toss-up between this and Gymnids. Depending on how many points I've got in the list, will depend on which one goes in. This list, we got Purple Sun. So my play here is I'm gonna leave my Bastiladons kind of grouped up with Kroak in the engine, and then put my 2 blobs of skinks with their sport heroes off to the sides, and hopefully get them into something good. Get a lot of shots off turn 1. That should be 160 shots, doing some mortals, and Bastiladons will be able to double fire hopefully each turn, because we're gonna have 3 chances at extra command points from Kroak, and then 2 chances from the Star Priest. So we should start with lots of command points. So that's the play here. We don't have any command points to start turn 1, since I don't have any battalions and I don't have any extra points. So if we get alpha struck, we could be in trouble as far as battle shot goes, because in this list, Skinks are only 5 bravery. They do get the buff from the Horde, but depending on how many I lose, it could be bad. I'm playing Joe and his Living City. We take a look at his list. I don't know everything that it does. I'll try to explain it as best I can. He's got the Frostheart Phoenix with the hero on it, and he has a command trait Iron Oak Artisan. I think that gives a +1 to his save, so that he's a 3-up and can go to a 2-up if there's a spellcast around him. Then he's got a Celestial Hurricanum with Battle Mage and Life Surge. I think that's the healing one, the healing spell there. And then Dreadlord on Black Dragon with Lance of Spite and Reaper Crossbow. That's so he can shoot. And in Living City, if you can shoot, you get to move again for free, or for a command point. So these guys have incredible range when they can shoot. They can move, they can shoot, they can move again. And then Artefact Spear of the Hunt. This lets him fight first if he charged. So in this list, I played this list, well, not this exact list, but he likes to bring in the Black Dragon and the Paladors in the same turn. And so you're getting hit with the Black Dragon, who will kill what he's into, because he gets to fight first. And then he gets to activate the Paladors, and they could do quite a few attacks and put out some damage. So kind of a pretty brutal 1-2 punch, and they can show up basically anywhere, and they can shoot from range, so they can move a lot and get into whatever target they want. Then he's got a 30 block of Phoenix Guard, so those guys are going to sit around the Frostheart Phoenix, probably hold an objective or 2, depending on what we're playing. And then some handgunners, 2 units of 10 handgunners, and some Shadow Warriors, which are the Deep Strike unit, pretty good. They can deep strike anywhere, so he's got a lot of movement shenanigans in this list, which is what he likes to play. He's coming in at 1990, so he did get to roll an extra Triumph, which I think was... yeah, I don't remember what it was, but he got to roll a Triumph. May have been like a Battle Shock something. No, reroll Wounds, that's what it was. Reroll Wounds. I think he put on the Black Dragon when the Black Dragon came in. So we are playing Sorcerer's Streams. This is one of the battle plans from forbidden power. And so it's kind of unique in that you start off with 3 objectives in your zone, in each of the zones, and starting in turn 2, whoever goes second gets to remove an objective. So this is the game type that you cannot call a game early. You've got to play it to the end, because when you're removing objectives, then it changes the game. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. It makes for a good game. Now, the weird thing is these objectives are really close together. They're only 12 inches apart. They're 6 inches off the line, and you can't capture them turn 1 because you're 12 inches from the middle, so you're exactly 6 away from this one. So you can't capture these objectives just sitting in your deployment zone. So that makes for some interesting stuff. You can get up there and get those objectives turn 1 if you're fast enough. So interesting battle plan. I like it. It does present some interesting stuff, and it's showing up in the Houston GT that's going to happen later this year, if it happens. Hopefully it'll happen. And so I think it's game 5 of that tournament maybe. So we wanted to get in a little bit of practice in case we end up going to that. So here's deployment. So I had to apologize. I got a new phone, and my phone was stuck on like the bokeh mode for photos. So some of these are a little blurry in the foreground, which is annoying, but it is what it is. So you can see I deployed my main force here with my 2 Bastiladons right there and here, and my engine, which is going to buff those guys and hopefully summon some stuff until I need to push those Bastiladons forward, or if those Bastiladons take some damage, then I'll only roll 2 dice so I can get some heals on those guys. My Kroak here, he's not really going to be in range for much. I don't have Bale and Vortex. I don't have the banner, so he's really going to be just there to snipe off support heroes, which his list doesn't really have any. He just has 3 big monsters as his heroes. So we're just going to look to do some chipping damage, but really he's there for the command point generation. And then I had my unit of Skinks here. You can see my kind of weird formation here. It's because I've played Living Cities a couple times, and they come up, they do the ambush off the board edge. So I know he's going to be coming in this way, and if I don't protect it, he can move so far when he comes off those ambushes. He could easily start 9 over here, shoot these Skinks if I didn't screen properly, and then move in and attack the core of my group. So I wanted to do that just to make his ambushes harder. I kind of did the same thing over here. I made sure that these guys were close enough to the board edge to where he couldn't get it right into my important stuff back here and flank me. He dropped his Phoenix Guard here, the big 30 block, and then his Frostheart Phoenix here, which is an awesome model. I have to put in the comments what model it is, but it's not the normal Phoenix Guard, but it looks awesome. And he put some handgunners here. They're kind of hard to see. Handgunners into that terrain piece, and then Paladors, he managed to get onto that terrain piece there. So he's getting some stuff in cover and making it hard for me to put a lot of dice on target. He outdropped me by 1, and so he elected for me to go first. And I didn't really have a good target here. I could get my Bastiladons into whatever I wanted to. But these Skinks, I knew I needed to protect this flank here, especially if I don't get a summons from the engine. And I kind of had to do the same thing here. So I didn't want to push forward as hard as I could and attack these Paladors yet. So, and I think they were just out of range. Like I could have gotten maybe the front half in range pretty easily. And but I didn't want to push them too far forward. And leave my flank exposed. Oh, and also this entire game was kind of crazy because every single run roll, I think either one of us did, we rolled a 1 on. It was nuts. We rolled 1s constantly for our runs. It was like we were all stuck in mud. So it was pretty bad run rolls there. So I pushed forward a little bit. Let's see what the next picture is here. Not too much. I'm still keeping strung out. I'm trying to kind of give him a juicy target if he wants to try to do something into these Bastiladons. He doesn't fall for it. He's hit them before. I did get a summons from the engine, and we bring in 10 warriors. Kroak, I don't think Kroak got me any extra command points, and my Starseers didn't, or my Priest didn't give me any extra command points. So I was hurting for command points here. That was pretty odd. Usually you'll get, a handful from that setup, but I didn't get any. These guys, I did not want to push forward because I didn't want to give them a good target for these Phoenix Guard to run into. So I stayed back a little bit and bubble wrapped these guys. I got all my buffs off on the Skink, so I had a lot of damage I could do, but just not a lot of good targets. I ended up taking out his handgunners with some Bastiladons could shoot there. Kroak got him there. This Bastiladon just kind of dinked into the Phoenix Guard, maybe took out a couple. But I did pull out the beautiful, the wonderful, the amazing Purple Sun, as seen here in red. But this right here is going to be brutal versus his Phoenix Guard. I wasn't taking it just to purposefully hard counter his Phoenix Guard, but a bound Purple Sun is pretty brutal. And he had, I didn't even talk about it, he had deployed off the table his only caster, his Black Dragon, a unit of handgunners, and the Shadow Warriors. And so he had quite a bit off the table. Was that it? I think that was all he had off the table. So his caster wasn't on there to do any kind of unbinds on this thing, or any of my other spells. So I didn't quite get the command points. I didn't quite get as many shots off as I wanted, but I'm positioned okay. It's going to force him to make some decisions. I know he's not going to want to run this towards the Purple Sun, so that's going to cause a problem there with his giant block of Phoenix Guard. So that's how we end the turn. The turn ends 3-0. I score my 3. I don't get any on his side. In hindsight, I don't know if I should have pushed forward a little bit to just score an extra point, maybe with these guys, but it would have put them in charge range of these Phoenix, and I kind of wanted to stay away from their damage and not give them any extra movement. They're a little bit slow, and so I wanted them to have to work for every inch. These Paladors, they're in cover. They're tough. They got so many wounds. I may have put a couple shots onto them from these guys, but nothing significant. So 3-0 into turn 1. In his turn, he brings in his Hurricanum over here. It's kind of hard to see because my video's blocking it. His Shadow Warriors here, and some handgunners also in cover. He brought forward his Paladors, which are gonna end up charging these Skinks here, and brought his Phoenix Guard over to that objective to where he can score both this one with a couple of those models, and then score the one on the left side with the rest of them. He knows he can't get away from this Sun unless he just got the perfect run roll, and we were all getting ones. And he was command point starved too because he didn't have an adjunct, and he needs those command points for his extra movement shenanigans. So he charges in the Paladors into those Skinks. I had all my buffs on the Skinks, so that's a 4-up save Skink Horde. I would have liked to have been able to spend a command point so they could reroll ones, but couldn't do that. And this isn't Fangs, so I couldn't shoot once he charged. But that's still going to be a lot of Skinks he's going to have to work through. And if I get the next turn, I should be able to shoot quite a few of them off. He's plinking up quite a bit of stuff from over this side. He was able to shoot off maybe the Skink Priest, I think, with some of the handgunners and the Shadow Warriors. They got good shooting. And then this thing is doing mortals. And it may have just been in range of some Skinks or something. So there's the Paladors coming in. The Camouflage Paladors. He's got a pretty cool paint scheme for his guys. A little bit different. Mine are bright as all get out. So here's another picture of the Paladors. I was able actually to pile in these Skinks, and because they can fight 2 ranks deep and they can fight 1 inch back in their own 25s, I was able to get quite a few of them in, and they weren't doing any damage on their normal stuff, but they are still mortaled up. So they're still mortaled up from the Skink Priest, and so they were able to do some mortals. It does look like I lost both my heroes that were right in there, and we lost quite a few Skinks from that fight. But that's about how it ended. I held on to my objective, but he's got a big force coming in over here, and I know I've got to focus here and focus here because those Phoenix Guard are nasty. So he's hitting me pretty good there. So 3-3, he scored his 3, and we roll off, and he won the roll off. So he got to decide, and he decided to take the turn. He was in a good position to do a lot of damage on me from that right flank, but that means I got to remove one of the objectives. So looking at the board, the one I thought I was going to have the most trouble getting to was going to be this one here. I felt like I could get to this one depending on what he did with his Phoenix Guard, or this one I could just outbody him if depending on what he did on his turn. So I elected to remove this one, which I didn't feel like I was going to be able to get to in this game, and so that one was gone. I did get to move because it's bound Purple Sun. I got to move it into the Phoenix Guard, and you can see him wonderfully removing some Phoenix Guard over there. That the Purple Sun in this game, I think, did more damage to the Phoenix Guard than anything else I had did. So that was well worth its 60 points for a bound endless spell. That's a little ridiculous. I imagine that some of that will change in GHB. I don't know. I hope not, because I like it, but for my friend's sake. So here we can see the Paladors are still fighting. Those Skinks, they're stuck in combat. He's moving forward his Hurricaneum. He's getting it just outside of 18 so that he can hit Kroak and these Skinks. I think it may have only been able to hit the Skinks, but that was okay because he was wanting to clear that screen. And he's focusing fire a lot of these guys on my Skinks and Warriors just so he can clear the screen, because the next picture... it's not that one. That's just him moving forward. Oh, first, before we go too far, he did move the Phoenix Guard up, and he moved this guy up just to increase his aura of -1 to wound in melee in case I'm charging in, but also so he can answer if he needs to on the next turn, depending on where he needs to go with that guy. So he's focusing fire a lot of these guys on these Skinks, because in the next turn, here he is moving them up, he brings in his Black Dragon. Which you can see there is a pretty awesome conversion. He's got some Stardrake wings and a Carnosaur body, Stardrake head. He's got some great conversions in his army. But he's bringing in the Black Dragon, and of course he's outside of 9 of this guy, outside of 9 of this guy. But once he shoots, he gets a full move for a command point. So I know what he's coming for. He's coming for Kroak. So he manages to, let's see what this next picture is. He manages to clear my screen by the time it's charge time. And at this point, I know Kroak's in for a heap of trouble. If he charges in, though, I'm fairly confident my engine will take him out. If not this turn, in my turn. And so I hate to lose Kroak, but so far, all he's done for me is get the Purple Sun out, which... he's done that job. He's done that job well, but he hadn't generated me any command points. So this is his punishment for not generating any command points. So he makes it a pretty incredible charge, and he gets in. You can see him. He's over the top of on the backside of Kroak there. Here, so they put 1 wound on Kroak before he charged in. Through all his saves, or all his hits and wounds, he only caused 6 allocated wounds. Kroak had 6 left. Kroak has a 4-up, feel no pain. So I'm thinking Kroak's going to survive this miraculously. I'm going to heal him up with Engine. I'm going to change his spell to heal, so if I get the double turn, I'll heal him up again. Maybe I'll double tap the Engine to heal him up 2d3. Kroak's fine. Until I failed every single feel no pain from Kroak. That was a roll down there. I needed 1 4-up on 6 dice roll, and Kroak, he wasn't feeling it today. Wasn't generating me any command points. He wasn't making any saves. So Kroak was gone, but I did hit back with Engine, and he wiped that Black Dragon off the table. The Engine man is sneaky good hero. He's sneaky good in combat. People think he's still a support hero, but he's good in combat. I like him now. So wiped out him. That's basically how the board ended. We can see the end of that turn. I lost even more Skinks, and I think the rest of them run in battle shock. I may have had enough to... No, I didn't have a command point. He was in... I can't remember if somebody was in range or not. Yeah, he's a general, so he was still in range. But I didn't have any command points. So, because Kroak kept failing me. So that's the end of that turn there, and he scores... Oh, I don't have the scoreboard up, but he scored 3 in that turn, so he was up 3 at that point. So in my turn, I start bringing stuff over this way. I'm bringing the Skinks up just so they can fire as much as they can here. I'm hoping I get the double turn, and I can pound them with this, and then get them with this, and hopefully clear off the rest of those Phoenix Guard. So I bring my engine up here. I had a brilliant plan. I'm going to bring my engine up here, and he is going to summon in some warriors here, and then I can charge over here. Until I realize that unless you have a Salon, you don't even have a chance of getting a summons. So you have to roll 2 dice. You need 3 to get a summons. So at that point, he's going to capture this objective. He's within 6 of that objective, and he'll just be a support hero until the next turn. Just try to kind of halo these guys just to try to keep the Phoenix Guard out if they end up clearing those Skinks. And I charged in both Bastiladons. That was probably a mistake. I really just wanted some extra hits in melee because one of these guys was like on 1 after I shot. That was disappointing. At this point, this thing had only had 1 wound left. Even after I had double tapped the Bastiladon, I had 1 command point. I've double tapped him, so I was able to end up clearing him with. I think it was mortals from this thing is what eventually took him out, but he almost survived. Didn't quite. So we were working on the Paladors on that turn. Here's the score at the end of that one. So it's tied back up. And it looks like, I think he may have won the roll-off again and gave it to me so that he could remove an objective. And he removed the objective on the far left side. So he removed that one so that I couldn't get it. Or maybe I may have won the... Man, this is the problem with not recording it live. Sometimes I forget. I may have won and taken it and let him remove one since I felt like I had these 2 under control. I felt like I could clear what was left here if I took the double turn, and if I didn't, he was going to mortal wounds this thing, and then he would probably be able to kill it with the Palador. So I tried some measurements, and I had enough Skinks. If I got a good run roll, I could get around the backside of this, even staying outside of 3, and score that objective once this purple sun came in. But of course, I rolled a 1, and so I decided to just bring them back this way on the run. And I got enough in range to start shooting some Paladors. I wanted to try to free up a Bastiladon so I could finish off this Hurricanum, and then the rest put into the Phoenix Guard. Sun also hit the Phoenix Guard and of course did way more damage than I was doing. So in my turn, I'm putting the Constellation onto the engine so that I can make sure he gets extra punchy. And let's see what we got working. So I pulled in the Stegodon into here, got a good charge here, was able to clear off the Hurricanum that was sitting here. And then I was fairly certain we were going to be able to clear off quite a few of those with the Stegodon. He was pumped up. He had Prime Warbeast. He had the Constellation. And had made the charge there. They're under 5 units, so we're in good shape there. So into my turn, we clear off those Paladors. We still don't own this objective. I think he may have had enough in there, and I only had 2. But we're sitting pretty. I know he's gonna take these guys into here on his turn. He can't. I don't think he can make them back around this side in enough distance to score that objective. So he's kind of stuck there. So on his turn, You can see I scored 2 points there in my turn. On his turn, he brings in the Shadow Warriors into the Stegadon, and not a bad idea. He was able to shoot everything he had into it. You know, he knew that was my best remaining hero, my big threat there. And they have a lot of attacks. Coalesce isn't going to reduce those attacks because they're just 1 damage. But was only able to reduce them to, I think it was down to 7. So he survived. He may have had a few less wounds than that. I can't remember. But he flew in his Phoenix over here to the middle to tie up the Bastiladon and start working on this group here. The problem was he had he just barely made it on the charge, whatever charge he was wanting to do. I think he was wanting to get into this Bastiladon. For some reason, I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe he has some mortals he can do that he can bring that thing down, or just wanted to tie it up so I couldn't shoot the rest of his stuff. But he was within 3 here, and it was the only place he could put that thing on the charge. And what that allowed me to do was charge or pile in when it was my turn enough skinks around to hold on to that objective, because he was within 6 of it, and he was the only model within 6 of it, so he would have scored it. But I was able to pile in some skinks towards him, obviously, but then had enough range that I could get, 2 models in range or whatever it was that I needed on that objective. He did try to sneak some Phoenix Guard this way, but I don't think they could quite make it. And he was running, and we were getting terrible run rolls the whole time. So at the end of his turn, you can see I kind of sneaked in these Skinks. The Shadow Warriors on the punchback just got obliterated, and then the Phoenix couldn't do anything against the Bastiladon. He was rolling. I was rolling. No, I wasn't rolling any 1, so he wasn't doing any damage. And Bastiladons, when they're not bracketed, are incredibly tanky unless you can put out a whole bunch of mortals. So that was the end of that turn. He scored 2 because he still had the models on this one, and then he still owned this one. And we rolled off, and let's see let's go to the scoreboard here. So the scoreboard, somehow he was going to get second turn. I think I may have opted to take it and give him second turn, but he didn't really have a good objective to remove. So he's not going to remove this one because he still has a chance for it, but I own it right now. And on my turn, I would probably leave these Skinks in here. He's not gonna kill enough of them from the Phoenix that I'm gonna be worried about him. So I'm gonna hold that objective. If he removes this one, that's just gonna give me free reign to push more this way, and this Stegadon will 100% kill off those handgunners. So I'm gonna score this one and these. So I'm gonna score 3. He's gonna remove one of them, but I'm still gonna score 2. And then his turn, he's going to have a hard time taking back this one, especially if he decide not. But even this one, he wouldn't be able to take back. This one, he might, but then I would just send on my next turn guys over here. He was just running out of options. So at that point, we called the game. You see, that's how it ended. We ended it there. We didn't have to remove it, but once we mathed it out, I don't think it was. Whichever way it went, I was going to win by 1 point. So, great game. It was a good one. It was. It's. I think it's kind of showing that Seraphon has the juice. It has the power. Even though I lost Kroak in turn 2 and he never generated me any extra command points, I would have basically taken out most of his army. He still would have had some Phoenix Guard left. But that Purple Sun still had 2 more times to go into them to take more off. And I basically never engaged those Phoenix Guard. I shot them some with the Skinks, but the Purple Sun did most of the damage. And I think by the end of the game, I had removed 20 of them with that Purple Sun. And so, yeah, even running without the dedicated strategy of this list, it was doing pretty awesome. So I like having those 2 skink hordes for lots of shots, even though I didn't really get to utilize them as much as I wanted, just based on the battle plan and deployment. But Bastiladons are still pretty awesome, and I love the Engine of the Gods. It's not It's not as good of summoning and support here as it used to be, but the heals are awesome because you can pretty much guarantee, not really guarantee, it's like a 70% chance you can get the heals off when you use 2 dice. And then Kroak is awesome. Should have generated more points, but didn't. So I like the list. I like his list. It's a lot of movement. And I think it's just hard for his stuff to hold 6 objectives because it's a lot more finesse. And when they're this close together, when they're only 12 inches apart and they're all in the middle and things are getting removed, that finesse army struggles a little bit more. So great game though. Had a lot of fun. Living City versus Seraphon. So I look forward to playing it again in the future. All right. Any improvements y'all can think of? What should of my Seraphon list? How should I tweak it? Other than protecting Kroak better. All right, guys. See ya.